we'll see if we see Superman probably coming out on the side of Arctic, because Nova, I'm sure, will be happy to pick it up.
Oh, without a doubt. You have, like you said, we didn't see any above stellar performances for either Nova or Arctic last week. So the ban strategy is let's go with the ones that make the most sense. You've got Superman, obviously you've got Zenial. Max is a potential ban. We haven't seen too much Max success. Teamy, obviously, I know one of your personal favorites. He's going to get banned away #1 here by Nova.
Listen, as soon as I logged into the game, the very first time I saw Teamy as a hero, I was like, I'm sold, right? That's my main. I'm main Teamy no matter what. I will be with Teamy throughout all the ages. But the Max is a great hero to talk about as the Violet ban comes out. No big surprise there, because Max was a hero we saw a lot of teams pick up and not succeed with, and we're starting to see that again in week 2. Both these teams in week 1 tried out Max in one of the games, didn't work out, and then they bailed out of it real fast.
It's being able to utilize that global ultimate, but more importantly, putting it in a good position to use it. Obviously, having it available, sure, you get the vision, you get the ability to join the fight at any time. That's great. But what are you doing before that moment happens? How are you setting up your team for a moment of success that allows an opportunity for that global ultimate to come out? As we're coming up on the second ban, Violet, like what you mentioned, pretty standard. I think that's going to be essentially a perma ban across the board here for Europe and probably North America later today.
Yeah, you can't blame anyone for that ban. And again, it's not because Violet's necessarily so overpowered against other heroes. It's just as soon as you're used to her abilities and her movement, it's all about player skill at that point. And now it's out of your control as someone who's playing against Violet, but rather that one player who is controlling Violet. We do see the Tulin ban coming out. This is what I love about the meta, and especially in Europe with a little bit of a bigger hero pool so far, is that they have so many choices that you can't blame them for, if it's Tulin versus Liliana versus L'Oreal, maybe you have a counter pick ready. And of course, this is where that snake pick of 1, 2, and then 2 heroes again back and forth matters a lot.
And now you're going to see the Zephyrus ban coming out as well here for Arctic. I think this one is just more of, okay, let's get the jungler off the board. Let's kind of get ourselves a reset. But I want to draw back to the Tulin ban because mage bans are something that we've seen a lot of in both Europe and North America. Obviously, the Tulin, Liliana, a couple of Lindis bans here and there, kind of the things that she pulls out in it. So I like the effort of funneling which of these mages you're going to pick to help change the direction for those counter picks.
Yeah, and just given the strength of all the heroes in the game so far, the mage's strength pool is probably the easiest to target with 6 total bans on both sides, right? You kind of get rid of 3, maybe 4 in the tier 1, tier S from the community, and then that way, now you're on even ground, right? And it's better to get rid of all of them if you're going to start at all with the bans than maybe only leave 1 available and suddenly blue side picks it up. Whereas you see the warriors or even the marksmen, other than Violet, they're all kind of there and there, right? They're going to put out damage no matter what. And then the warriors, there's so many that if you start to kind of tunnel vision yourselves in, you might get in a little trouble. We do see that Superman ban finally coming out for Arctic Gaming that I was a little worried once again.
As well as that Liliana, the double mage ban coming out of Nova, respecting the funnel pick. But now this leaves open a couple options here for the side of Nova. Zenial is left alive. You've also got Malik, which was banned in both games of the last series. So this creates this opportunity here for Nova to potentially set the tone early on what they want for this first pick.
There's a lot, right? You have the L'Oreal left as well. The Max, I don't think we're going to see, at least not early on from either teams. I think they're both a little bit afraid, and they also know the enemy team's probably not going to rush that pickup either. So they can leave it until the end and say, okay, now we have a composition that we can really work with Max. Maybe we'll pick it up. L'Oreal, Zenial, all good. Malik as well. It's now you got to consider what gives us the least disadvantage when we're giving 2 heroes to the other side. Wonder Woman staying alive as well in this very first game between these 2 teams.
You've obviously got the Malik Lumber combo that you have to worry out for it. This is the great state of Arena of Valor as well, is there's all these different kind of combinations and computations you can fit and get yourself together that, sure, yeah, we increased it now from 2 bans to 6 bans, but there's still so many options for these teams to piece together.
There's some scary combinations available. I mean, Zenial and Max also both having global ultimates is something that you got to watch out for. This gets a little tricky. I haven't thought about it this far. When you're giving away 2 heroes to that red side initially, what's your best bet? Maybe just because there are so many different combos, you rely on maybe just the L'Oreal, right? Just going for that high burst that you're guaranteed and going through that first phase, but it looks like it's going to be the Malak.
Yeah, Malik's too strong of a side laner to be able to pull in off your team. You obviously have to pick that as well to deny the Malik-Lombard combination that Arctic could potentially pull out. But in this situation, you have to choose the Lombard because you don't want the combo for the flip side. And I wouldn't be surprised if you actually see a L'Oreal, but instead, no, I stand corrected. They picked the Zenio, which also denies the potential Max pick coming out of Nova.
Yeah, and Zenio is a little bit more reliable, I would say, in his mechanics compared to Max in terms of how you utilize that ultimate. This does leave L'Oreal alive. I like this play from Nova, actually. Malik, like you said, to deny the combo, but that means that Arctic still has to make a couple choices, and you can react to the next picks. And it's going to be Ryoma, who we've seen successfully for Team Noob in that first quarterfinal today.
I like giving yourself, picking both of your damage dealers. Obviously, the main tanks have been decided for Arctic Gaming, so get yourself some damage dealers. Ryoma, L'Oreal picked off the mark. Arctic Gaming now, with the L'Oreal taken, that's going to be almost an immediate Tulin, or, as I stand corrected, that might actually be a Preda that they decide to go against the L'Oreal. And then the Wonder Woman, obviously, you want to keep that up and away from this Nova team.
Yeah, Arctic Gaming, not too bad. Again, a little bit reactionary, I would say. They can go in if they have the lead, but they're more focused on being able to wombo combo once people come in. On the side of Nova, where we might see this Omen again, and Crest being picked up as their kind of main tank for Nova.
I like the split push potential of the Omen. Can obviously duel with Zenio in the later stages of the game. Now, the decision-making that Nova places on Arctic now is, with Omen in the late game, the power that he has in that split pushing. If Zenio decides to teleport to the other side of the map and help out his team, that could potentially leave the doors wide open for a very scary split push.
Ooh, and I like this for Arctic Gaming. Arctic Gaming, with the Slims pick up at the end, now with Slims and Preda, they have a distinct range advantage in being able to poke down enemy heroes on the side of Nova before they have to initiate. And if Nova gets worried and they jump in, you got Lumber, you got Wonder Woman to worry about. That's not going to be a fun fight.
Not only that, but the new Scorching Wind item on Slims is extremely powerful. I was doing some ranked matches in the bottom of Silver yesterday. We're climbing. We're getting there. Definitely picked up some Slim matches at Scorching Wind, especially once you get those 15 stacks. 30% attack speed allows for so many different options of just bouncing around and getting off all that damage on a team. But now, Chobra, we gave you the advantage. You obviously picked the Juggernaut in Game 1.
100%.
Game 2, you've got
CJ.
the draft phase on your team. So who are you going to go with this pick now for the second quarterfinal?
Oh, man. Listen,
a little harder. It's a little harder.
It is a little harder, and just because I like a little bit more kind of like unique game styles generally, I'm leaning towards Arctic in my heart, but once again, my brain's telling me Nova. I think it's going to be Nova. The Malik, I just don't think you can ignore, and Lori as well. If they get a good fight, their damage is just going to scale, I think, over Arctic Gaming's composition.
All right, Chober's locked it in. It's going to be Nova. His mind's telling him one, his body's telling him another, but he's trusting the mind. Ooh. But we want to know with you guys watching over at Twitch chat what you guys think. Is it going to be Nova eSports? Are you going to side with the Mr. Chober over here? Or is it going to be Arctic Gaming? We're looking at 67-33 in favor of Nova eSports. So you've got the team on your side. You've got Twitch chat. It's always good when Twitch chat's on your team, you know?
Absolutely.
It is. But we're going to get ourselves with our second quarterfinal match of the day. It's going to be Nova eSports taking on Arctic Gaming here in the Valor series presented by AT&T.
All right, so I love the skins coming out for Crest, having that little shark over them. And we're going to see Nova eSports, right? Again, they're going to be able to kind of initiate a lot more easily. They can split push later on as well. They're relying on getting a lead and keeping it. Meanwhile, Arctic Gaming, they can just farm up and just see how the lane can plays out. They can position, they can stall, and they can kind of face off in a standoff against Nova multiple times. But of course, Malak, one ultimate could change that entire thing.
As now we're going to start to see the point where these early invades are starting to get themselves happen. Obviously, you can see iFlex onto that side lane. The main carry for his team just doing all of the help. Malik, obviously a very strong sidelaner. Didn't see him in the first series. As now Crayon and Dark are going to get themselves a little bit of a cheeky play. They're going to get damage onto Ruiz. Going to have to be forced to make that pray to go right back over into the security of his tower.
Yeah, and we're seeing on the side of Arctic Gaming a double punish coming out as well with Zenio up in the top side. I mean, the punish gives a lot of other utility other than it's not just for jungling, right? It has a lot of utility. Obviously, you can kind of stay at your tower a little better. You have an advantage when you're fighting over objectives. And of course, the jungling items have their own set of passives and buffs.
Now, Freaka is going to get caught out in the jungle, and that rock is going to be turned to dust. as the first blood is going to go over into the hands of Nova. And what better individual to put that gold into than that Ryoma with Crayon?
Yeah, again, we've seen how Ryoma handles, right? It's all about stability, just steadily going through the game. This is going to be a good start. The important thing to note here was that Lumber died on the side of Arctic in their own jungle. So we're seeing that roam, we're seeing that aggression come out from Nova. You can even see the positioning if you look at the mini-map. It's generally slightly leaning towards Arctic Gaming side on the red side, right? No one from Arctic Gaming is trying to scout out, get vision, etc. And look at this, we're already at a 2-minute mark, and it looks like the Abyssal Dragon's going to go down immediately.
We talked about the power of Nova when they get themselves ahead. Proactivity rewards the bold, as Nova is going to secure themselves that first Abyssal Dragon of the game, putting themselves up about 1,000 gold. Nothing too crazy off the mark, but you're going to have Dark and Restless lurking in the wayside. Freak is going to get himself caught out again. He's going to have to be forced to dash away.
I'm starting to get a little worried for Freaka. We've seen that kind of same movement mistake coming in twice, this time not lethal, but you see Lumber's movement on the map, right? Freaka's playing kind of more of a defensive roam, just making sure that no one from Nova's coming in. I don't know if it's because they want to catch someone in their own jungle because they know Nova's going to be aggressive, or is it that they're maybe putting too many of their eggs in the basket of Slims for Kappa to kind of grow and really carry the late game?
That's going to be the important X factor for the side of Arctic Gaming, is can they stall this game out enough and play cautious to allow Kappa to get those stacks. We talked about Scorching Wind, 30% attack speed on someone like a Slims, considering the fact that he gets the movement speed buff with his the attack speed buff with his ultimate, as well as the damage buff from that 2 ability. So the longer that this game goes and the more that they allow him to farm up that jungle, the more powerful this Slims is going to become.
Yeah, and we see Kappa not committing that smart, right? You only have the Whispering Winds over Freaka once again, kind of having to be sacrificed. Oh no, he's going to live for now. Can he survive for the rest of the fight, trying to run away? iFlex is going to be able to join the fray. He will end up taking down Freaka as Wonder Woman comes to join, but too little too late as the double kill by iFlex. Zunk going down as well. Nova with the jungle victory. Yeah, and we've talked about this, right? We've talked about the ultimate abilities coming from Nova. It's still early on enough in the game that it's worth using it for one single kill that you know you can secure. You're getting ahead. You're 3-0, and this is playing to their strengths. We've talked about it time and time again. Nova gets ahead, stays ahead, and they know that that's their strength. They know they're not the best at coming back from behind, so now they just have to keep up this pattern, rinse and repeat.
As you're going to see, nice little 4-man roam onto the bottom side of the map. Omen doing a really good job. Again, we talked about the split pushing power and the tower taking ability that Omen provides. And just as we say that he's going to be able to take down that turret, will lose his life in the process, but objectives is the name of the game here in Arena of Valor.
Yeah, and as the game goes on, right, he sees that the rest of his teammates are taking that second Abyssal Dragon, so that's an advantage. In just a little bit, a little over a minute, we're going to see that Darkslayer start to come into play as well. So keeping that Darkslayer side of the map open for themselves, keeping it pushed, is going to be quite a big help. And that's also the side lane where Zenial is. Keeping Zenial locked in and having to go back and clear, or someone else to go back and clear, means that you don't have to worry about that global ultimate as much coming in hot from Arctic Gaming.
As now we are 1 minute away from the Dark Slayer being taken, while Omen was getting himself that tower on the top side. Nova was also getting themselves that second Abyssal Dragon, continuing to build themselves a lead. Arena of Valor is such an important factor in the early stages of the game, that gold lead being the difference between life or death for you and the rest of your team, as now the siege weapons have decided to start and come out themselves down the lane, as we see another jungle invade coming out of Nova.
But here's the thing, right? These long-range siege, the long-range siege abilities as well, coming in from Arctic Gaming, both on Slims and we're also seeing on Preda, you want to use it offensively. Long range isn't great defensively, because if you're trying to hit them from way behind your tower, they're going to take the tower. So we're starting to see everyone from Arctic once again positioning in defensive lineups, both on the map and also the way they use their abilities. This just gives Nova more confidence. Just push until they get another objective, another Abyssal Dragon, and then a Darkslayer, and then they're going to take a couple towers.
They know the power spikes that they need to hit, but more importantly, they know the lives they need to take, as Wonder Woman is going to do everything she can, but Restless is going to put the rest of CO as Wonder Woman now goes down. You've got a nice little rebuttal. This is what you were talking about, though, trying to get themselves a little bit more of an advantageous position. Arctic Gaming is going to have 4 members onto the top side of the map, but without any minions to boot, they're going to have to be forced to retreat as Nova is on the assault in the bot lane.
Yeah, and Arctic Gaming tried, but they didn't get the kill. That's what matters. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter if you were close. If you traded nothing for 2 towers and a kill to the enemy team, you're losing out on the trade no matter how you look at it. Nova, meanwhile, Nova eSports is again, taking that lead. They're continuing to widen the gold gap as well, and they're positioning for another Abyssal Dragon. They've taken the Sentinel a couple times as well. This time a little bit of a opposition coming in from Arctic, but I think it should be Nova's.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be enough. Dark is going to just pop down that blink, get off all the damage. Number 3, Abyssal Dragon, 3 of 3 in favor of Nova. And this is where things are on the ticking time clock for Arctic, because when you look at heroes like Ryoma, like L'Oreal, that benefit so highly off that second item power spike, they're going to have to be careful.
Yeah, and earlier on, what we also saw was Nova eSports being able to use kind of their ultimates pretty freely for a single kill because the threat wasn't there. No one was coming in to save him. Zenial was busy either pushing or being pushed. So you know that there's no backup. Kresh has used his ultimate multiple times just to get a single kill. That's what should be happening on the side of Arctic. They have these single target crowd control abilities that they can get picks with, but because they're just being pushed in on their side of the map, they just have to use it to really stall more than anything.
They're going to have to find themselves some sort of pick, with the Seagull being the only sort of vision that they can get on any side of the jungle. They're going to have to try to see if they can get themselves some sort of pick off in these bushes. But the fan out of Nova, if one member's going into the jungle, multiple members are going into the jungle. You can see this happen with Crayon and iFlex in and around each other, but the members of Arctic are going to have to rotate themselves around because you've got another valiant effort by 4 members of Nova in the jungle, forcing the side of Arctic to back off.
Yeah, the difference in how this Lumber is being played, oh, it looks like the fight's going to continue actually in this red side jungle.
Dark is just going to ward themselves off. The power of the L'Oreal that we have seen time and time again is showing here, and now as the inner top turret goes down, multiple members of 4. And I love this decision. They know how strong they are as 4, that they just leave Sebka on the opposite side of the map, and look at the power that he's able to provide. You have Zunk being forced. He was forced down to about 15% HP, was forced to go back. And so with the strength that they have on both sides of the map, the onslaught just continues in a relentless fashion.
Yeah, and what I want to say about that Lumber was what we're seeing a difference between this quarterfinal and the previous one, Team Noob, is there, Lumber was able to use his ultimate defensively because the rest of the team could counter-initiate off of that stun. What we just saw on that top side of the map was Lumber using his ultimate, 3 people getting knocked up, and there being no follow-up because you want Slims to keep his distance and try to get a single target pick. You got Prada who's trying to charge up from a distance, and there's no instant follow. Wonder Woman's pretty much the only one really that's going to jump in confidently. Zenio trying to be a little bit more defensive, of course, for their carries. And
I love getting to see the differences between teams and the styles that they provide. As Sebka going to get himself a little bit of a way, Kappa, but back to the point, you took a look at the bloodbath that we had in the first series, and just the back and forth between Jungle Book Squad and Team Noob. Now, you've only got 5 kills in 9.5 minutes, and Nova's objective control is showing the prowess that they have as a unit.
Yeah, and Malik just, Malik baiting out the ultimate as well. That, Frika, I want to give props to Frika to try to get that single target pick just to get themselves back in the game, but Malik just walked away and it didn't matter. But Malik was holding off 3 people. I mean, Arctic had a good inkling that Dark Star was going down, but they couldn't do anything about it.
Dark is going to be able to just blink in and out. The mobility of the L'Oreal doing all the work as it forces most members. I actually walked away with the that might buff as well. So, I'm going to kindly thank you on that might buff, as now the Dark Slayer did go down in favor of Nova. We're just over the 10-minute mark. 7,000 gold lead with plenty of objectives to boot, as Restless is going to get himself caught out, but that's a very tanky Shark that they're not going to have to worry about.
Yeah, and Kresh coming to that Serum Buckler as well, so there's a lot of damage reduction for the team of Nova eSports. They're going in for another kill.
Frika is going to get a good 4-man ultimate, but it doesn't matter. Sebka is going to take his life again, as now just like that, Nova is going to be able to push themselves up with that buff and potentially get themselves a high ground turret.
We saw it there again as we see Nova eSports diving, and they're actually just going to continue. They can't just go for the tower, but they're going to try to pick up some kills first. The minions are doing their job on the high ground tower, and they'll eventually finish it off.
I like that job by Restless to just pop his ultimate, make sure to ward off the members of Arctic Gaming and say, you know what? These towers, this base, it all belongs to us, as the second high ground turret goes through, and now it's simple textbook strategy as the rotations, top lane mid wave, or top lane minion wave rather, is going to be crashing into the turret. turret, and so this looks like it could potentially be 3 high ground turrets in favor of Nova.
Yeah, you look at Restless' score, and you know that Restless is playing the job he needs to. 0-0 and 4, just being the tank, being the crowd control, being the sponge in the front line, so the rest of his team, and now has a passive RO as well from his items to give a little bit more damage, a little bit more reduction for his team. If he just stays alive, he's doing his job, right? He doesn't need to be the one killing people. He just needs to be there for his team. We do see Nova eSports now just backing up. They have 2 high ground towers. They got nothing to lose, right? At this point, you get another Dark Slayer, and then you're ready to push in. You're not in a rush. Maybe have everyone catch up to level 15, but you don't need to wait for that either.
What's a couple extra minutes at the end game screen? Just collect your resources, continue to build your advantage, and it's not going to be able to get too much higher as we're now in double digits, up 10,000 gold at the 12-minute mark, and they're doing it with a very limited number of kills. Only 5 kills compared to the massive amount that we saw in Game 1, and it just shows the pure objective control and map rotations that they have when they're ahead.
Not a single objective taken for Arctic Gaming, right? 0-0-0 on the objective scoreboard. Meanwhile, 4 Abyssal Dragons, 8 towers, and a Dark Slayer to boot. Nova has no right to lose this game. They've just got to be able to be patient and not, simply put, not throw the game. They have all the lead they need.
As now 1 high ground turret remains. iFlex is going to ult in to try to zone off the members of Arctic Gaming. This could potentially be their last stand as the Super Minions are crowding on the core on the offside of the map. Super Minions are down even more, and this is where Nova finally takes control. It doesn't matter. No one's going to finish. The Super Minions going to push it down. Core defeated. Nova with the victory.
Yeah, this was, I think, just textbook coming in from Nova, right? They knew the advantages they had as a team and how they play. They knew their heroes, and then they went in. We're going to see a couple of these highlight reels come through, and you're going to see time and time again, really what I want to point out is Restless kind of being a hero, right? Using his ultimate just to get picks when he needs to, but then also using it to kind of fend people off so his teammates can do their thing.
You cannot discount the rotational prowess of Nova in that game number 1. We mentioned many times the limited number of kills that they had, and it wasn't because they felt like they needed to get kills. It wasn't like there weren't opportunities to create them, but when you think about MOBAs, when you think about Arena of Valor, it all comes down to those objectives, securing those turrets, manipulating those waves, and just absolutely destroying the enemy team and all of the resources that they can create for themselves.
Yeah, and going back in hindsight, what we're starting to see is that draft phase really played out for Nova, right? We saw Arctic being forced to take away the lumber to avoid a super wombo combo, but then their lumber wasn't really set up for anything by the rest of their composition. They had a separate plan in mind, and it didn't pan out because they never had the lead. They never had the lead to really push forward.
And you also think about the composition as well. There wasn't really any early game aggression available on the side of Arctic Gaming. Slims needed to get himself scaled up. Wonder Woman, Lumbar, as well as the Zennial, they needed those items. Preda, was good at the wave clear in the early stages of the game, but they didn't have anyone that could really help carry the earlier stages of the game versus the super aggressive maneuvering that you saw from the side of Nova.
Yeah, and we see Sepka being the only one who got a death on the side of Nova. That's how it should be. You're split pushing. You're on your own. If you're going to have any deaths on your team, it's you, because that means the rest of your team is pushing down objectives, and that's how Nova eSports won the game.
So Nova eSports obviously dominating fashion in game number 1. Let's take a look at the side of Arctic Gaming and what they're going to have to do potentially in game number 2 to even up the score.
I think they have to take a bigger risk in the draft phase to make sure they have exactly 5 heroes they want to play and they know work together as a team, right? This is, again, time and time again, what we're seeing with them is that they might have some cool ideas, but it doesn't really come to fruition because they're missing this 2 to 5%, whether it's in the middle or at the end, whether it's communication, whether it's in the draft phase, you got thrown off because of what was left in the hero pool. I think they need to avoid that. Arctic Gaming just needs to get a win under the belt, even if they don't win the match, to gain that confidence again and say, our plans do work. We just need to solidify them from the beginning.
I think it's also having that game plan of just doing something.
Yes.
Even if you fail,
That's true.
even if you find yourself in a disadvantageous position, it's the fact of mustering up the courage and the confidence as a unit to make those early game decisions is extremely important for their success because, as they say, you're going to miss 100% of the shots you don't take. This is where Arctic Gaming needs to start taking shots, even if those shots come up short.
Yeah, and if you're going to take a reactionary kind of stance and style, your heroes need to reflect that, right? Yes, long-range kind of sieging type abilities aren't super aggressive, but they are when you're winning, right? You want to be winning with them. You can't defend with them very well. The whole idea is that you're pushing passively and you're not doing the killing, but you're getting your side of the map more open. When you're already just playing defensive with a single target long range stun and, just a kind of a wave clear push coming in from Preda, that's not going to do you much good if you know you want to play passive.
So now the battlefield is one story, but before we get to the battlefield, the bans have to happen. You're going to have Arctic Gaming taking up the blue side, Nova taking up the red. What changes in the strategy here for Arctic in that ban phase?
I almost think it's a little tougher for Arctic because, again, I think they need to get combos in, and having to just secure someone as that first pick. With the number of strong heroes, unless you're getting Superman, I don't think it's anything that you're going to go home and, tell your family about. Like, woo, we got Wonder Woman. Like, yeah, that's great. She's strong, but kind of everyone does if she's open, right? Superman can single-handedly really change the entire game. So unless that's open, Arctic, maybe they go for, something that's maybe not as strong. Leave more strong heroes open. I know it sounds risky. I know it sounds crazy, but when you're behind, there's no stops, right? You got to go for what you know and go for something that fits any composition as that first pick. Go for something a little bit more stable, right? For instance, if Malik's open, Malik's one of those where he's strong, but he can be an initiator, he can play a little defensively, he can peel a little bit, and he's a tank, so he's a good warrior, right? Kind of similar to Superman. So we'll see how that plays out for Arctic Gaming.
I wouldn't be surprised if we actually see a Malik ban on the red side coming out of Nova.
Yeah.
Potentially just getting him out of the way, not having to worry about anything. Teamy being actually the first ban for Arctic. And I actually want to see Arctic coming into this pick ban phase potentially go for a little bit more an aggressive jungling composition. Maybe get themselves the Ryoma or the Zill into their hands. And the passive strategy didn't work. Let's try the aggressive strategy and see what happens.
Yeah, and they're going for similar bans once again. I mean, just throwing out those heroes that kind of fit anywhere, right? Pretty standard, not too strong, which I like. Once again, leave more open so that even if Nova takes 2, you can take 2 back in that third phase of the picks.
Zephys, Violet, and Liliana being taken off the table. Obviously, the Superman being banned away on blue side. I don't agree. I don't agree with this. If you're on blue side, you have first pick. Unless your team absolutely cannot play him, leave him open on the blue side.
And I think that's the worry. I don't think they're confident enough, which is a shame because we've seen what Superman can do time and time again. But listen, if you know yourselves and you know you can't play him to that confidence, I mean, probably can play him, but not to say that, oh, we're going to win no matter what because we got Superman. Fair enough, ban him because otherwise they'll take it. And you don't want to pick something just because it's open, right? If you're not comfortable, don't pick it. You're behind. You got to play comfort more than strats and stats.
Of course, comfort, that's what we talked about coming into this. They want to get those comfort picks. They want to help themselves out a little bit. Tulin being that final ban coming out of Nova. The Malik is left and available if Arctic decides to potentially pick that up. They're going to have to take the Malik or they're going to have to take the Lumbar because I will not be surprised if Nova pulls on the repeat, but they go with a little bit more of an aggressive jungler here in that Ryoma.
Okay, I mean, listen, if they commit to this jungle, that's fine. Of course, Zenial was open as well. I mean, again, with so many strong heroes where there's so many to consider going into this first phase of the picks, I do like the L'Oreal, though. I think Nova knows that, listen, we seem to be better at team communication. We're not too worried about that global because we can just push them in. And we've seen that work out in that previous game where Arctic, once again, couldn't use that Zenial to any advantage. But L'Oreal picking up, Tulin and Lilian are both off. Of course, Kali coming in, right? Kali got a little bit of buff on that ultimate, has more burst, but L'Oreal's definitely still the remaining tier 1 mage.
Wonder Woman being picked up by Arctic Gaming as well, having a little bit of extra help with their side lane, and could potentially deal with iFlex on the side lane, trying to help them things out. The Zenial, they didn't have to worry about it. And the Lubu, another solid pickup for Nova to potentially get themselves a little early game aggression.
Yeah, and again, there's follow-up now from Malik, right? Or whoever, right? Even if Lubu's the first one that goes in, Zenial can come in as follow-up, Malik can come as follow-up, or vice versa. Nova knows that they're going to initiate, and they're going to make sure that the rest of the team is there. All right, we talked about the Max in Game 1.
You're crossing, they can't see it, you're crossing your hands, I'm crossing my hands as well. So you pick Max into his counter of a Zenial. Arctic Gaming needs to have themselves a strategy because if not, the Zenial is just too strong because Max, obviously his goal, he wants to get onto the enemy members with that global ultimate. Zenial is the exact opposite. He wants to help his team. Obviously he provides that damage reduction and anyone in that AoE provides them a heal as well. So Zunk's really going to have to try to change something up if he wants to get that Max to work.
The only hope I have here is that if Lumber's not the one that's getting picked off on the side of Arctic Gaming, they can counter-initiate this time, right? They have a lot of kind of line-piercing abilities that have crowd control. You got Ryoma, you got Lumber, and then you have Wonder Woman as well who can protect the team while doing damage and a little bit of crowd control. Then Kali just pops off with her ult. That's the biggest hope for Arctic is... But once again, that's a passive, that's a reactionary style of play, and we haven't seen them succeed with that. It doesn't mean it's bad.
They have Ryoma, so they have a little bit. They have a little bit of effort to potentially get themselves an extra aggression. You have that roam with Lumbar as well, potentially get the just enough lockup CC for Ryoma to get off the damage, maybe some roam out of Kali, but it's still going to have to be an over-aggression outside of the comfort zone of this composition.
Yeah, but I think you're bringing up the good point. I think what I'm starting to do is already thinking in the shoes of Arctic, right? Oh, yeah, we got to play reactionary. Nova's a better team. They're stronger. They've beaten us. So we'll take a reactionary stance. No, you're right. This team comp can still get a little bit of aggression themselves. At the end of the day, in the early game of Arena of Valor, whoever gets those picks earlier is going to get the lead no matter what composition you are, right? There's so many abilities. There's so many kind of frequent skirmishes that if you have more people, you're going to win. So we want to see that aggression as a team coming in from Arctic Gaming. If they get the lead, their team composition can also jump in a little bit. Ryoma can jump in first and then follow up from Lumber and Kali. That order can be swapped.
Well, don't forget, we want to know what you guys sitting at home or wherever you may be are thinking about this match. Take over to Twitter and use the hashtag Valor Series to let us know your predictions on this match as well as what you think of the rest of week number 2. But with that, we're going to get into game number 2 of our second semifinal here in the Valor Series presented by AT&T.
Yeah, we got Nova on the red side this time with that game 1 win under their belt. And again, I think in terms of style of play, we're not going to see anything too different. We did kind of glance over that last pick of a Thane coming in from Nova, but I like it, right? It actually kind of disrupts that counter-initiate that Arctic might be able to have should the rest of his team jump in. So they've kind of got their bases all covered in terms of style of play and style of team fight. Once again, it's all about Arctic making sure Nova doesn't run too far ahead in that first 5 minutes. In game 1, we saw Nova consistently extending that gold lead by about 2 to 3K every 3 minutes. And then by the end, they were 5, 10K ahead. So we want to make sure that Nova doesn't get like a 2K gold lead by the 5-minute mark.
We didn't really talk too much about that final pick coming out of Nova as well. Thane, a very powerful frontliner, as well as the execution ability that he has in his ultimate. So still, again, another strong frontline for them, which really allows for Craven to just bounce back and forth essentially wherever he wants to go.
We are seeing it once again. Freaka playing a bit more defensive roam, just scouting it out to make sure that Nova doesn't come in, which means Ryoma's also not looking to jump in anywhere too crazy. Nova's set up for a 2-person gank in the mid lane, though, and now they're going to start to roam. We might have a clash in the middle of the river.
Potentially so, as you see Nova kind of lurking in this bush. I like Kappa's desire to get himself farmed up, get a couple extra levels. He is already level 4, so he's going to have that ultimate to kind of help things up as Nova, instead of invading and pushing towards the jungle, now they're just going to lurk in that little pixel brush in the middle of the river. iFlex is going to get himself caught up. Little bit too little too late. Going to try to pop that shield. Just enough of the healing, but it might not be enough just yet, as you've got the members of Nova and Arctic getting themselves just enough on the scuffle. Seal's going to get himself just enough alive, and iFlex, this is the damage that Malik provides. First blood onto Kappa. They're going to continue the push. Freaking that last auto attack, getting it. Restless being able to pick up that kill onto Seal as well. And so what seemed like a nice little catch up by Arctic turned out a 3-0 favor and in favor of Nova.
Yeah, they had to get that kill on Flex, right? You needed to get that pick so that first you would get a little bit more experience as well. Try to get a couple others to level 4 a little earlier in that fight so you have a boost in both stats and the abilities. Meanwhile, we saw Nova turning it around, getting that first kill. Then they had 2 of their heroes, they had Luba and L'Oreal instantly hitting level 4 so that they could dish out continuous damage for the rest of the fight.
And so now Nova is going to collect themselves that winnings. It's fairly allocated across the board. Definitely something that you want to see in a team that operates as a unit as much. Pumping the gold into one member is definitely a very high-risk, high-reward situation in some cases. But Nova doing a valiant effort at getting themselves ahead early. And being able to get those tier 2 items before it gets to that 3rd mark at just 3 minutes definitely helps them out.
Yeah, we did see Freaka on Lumber kind of hang out in the top lane, potentially for a gank or watching out for enemy ganks. Again, playing much more the protector role, which, again, not a bad thing, but it looks like Zunk is getting caught out.
Nice little roam here. 4 members of Nova are on the wayside. Restless going to be able to pick up that kill. Nice little little sword slam. Those big great swords coming at you, man. Not the most appealing of sights.
Yeah, and listen, we saw it last game with the Zennial on the side of Arctic Gaming. Got pushed in, got shoved in, got ganked, and they couldn't go anywhere with that global ultimate. We're going to see that same pattern unravel with Max. And we're at 4 minutes, and what did I talk about? It's already a 2K gold lead for Nova. They've got the position they want. This time going for a little bit more kills than they did in game 1. Already 4 kills down, but now they're free to roam about and get more.
Freaka is going to be forced to use that ultimate to weigh the members of Nova off as iFlex is going to catch himself gunning, but a great effort and knowledge of him that he needs to get back himself to his team. And to the point that you were talking about, yeah, they're getting themselves a couple extra kills, but they're not getting these kills through over-aggression. It's very calculated aggression of knowing when they can and can't go out and using their crowd control stacking appropriately.
Yeah, and even in that fight, in their own jungle for Arctic Gaming, I would have actually liked to see Freaka take a bit more of a risk and run the longer route back towards his teammates so the Kaleo coming in from Ruiz had a bit more damage, but we're going to see a fight for the Abyssal Dragon.
Abyssal Dragon is going to be down to 50% HP. Nova is going to end up peeling off of that because they want to get themselves a couple extra kills into their pocket. Crane is going to blink around. The Abyssal Dragon wants to join the fight too, as iFlex is going to be able to use that AoE just enough to get it, but instead, Abyssal Dragon walks away, so do the members of Arctic Gaming. Dark is going to try to get himself a little bit of extra damage, but instead, they're just going to back themselves off, force the members of Arctic Gaming to retreat. They're going to secure themselves that Abyssal Dragon uncontested, while Zennial is pushing in the top side.
All things going for Nova. I mean, if you're getting the big objective and pushing in the lane, so you haven't lost anything. You've sent people packing back to base to heal up and regroup. Nova gets their second Abyssal Dragon. I want everyone to keep an eye on the gold again. Every 2 to 3 minutes, you're going to see that boost up and start to multiply in that lead if Nova plays the way they did in game 1.
20 seconds left remaining until the Dark Slayer is on the menu and available. The roam of Freaka hasn't been to the level that we want it to be. When you're picking that lumbar, when you're trying to help your team, use every ultimate that he's used has been because of an aggressive maneuvering and posturing of Nova. He hasn't been able to actually use that to allow his team to follow up, and this is the disaster of a reactionary play method in a game like Arena of Valor.
Yeah, I hate to say it, but Freaka, I think, is trying a lot more to be a bit more aggressive in game 2, taking a bit more initiative. They're finding Restless. He should be able to just get away just fine. Actually, Arctic might get pinched here in the mid lane.
Potentially trying to rotate themselves
running
over.
away.
Arctic's going to rotate towards the bottom side there. They're going to get the heck out of dodge. They're going to go sailing on the bottom side of the river. They know that there's multiple members. Thane is going to decide to go in onto the mid side of the map, but still forces another recoil by Ruiz. Freaka going to do a little bit of an intimidating rush, but I don't think he necessarily wants to go in as 4 members of Nova are in this mid lane.
Yeah, and you're seeing it. It's the smaller things at the top level of play. Nova was about 1.5 seconds earlier to regroup at the mid lane to make sure that Freaka didn't try anything crazy to counter-initiate onto their teammates. It was also that Zennial was already in mid, so just running about and then going back to that top lane, using those abilities to make sure that he's ready rather than reacting. You're seeing that. It's going to be a theme, I think, for a lot of these kind of mid-tier teams at the pro level of are you the one taking action or reacting, and Freaka getting caught out once again.
Yep, the little pixel brush there, hide by Freaka just isn't going to be able to be enough as Nova does all the damage, and now the tower dive comes out. Ruiz doesn't have any mobility to help himself out as Crane's going to pick up that kill, getting 2 kills now onto the side of that L'Oreal. They're going to get themselves a mid-turret, and now what slow start Nova had has now decided to get themselves a snowball up almost 4,000 gold at the 7.5-minute mark.
Yeah, 3 minutes pass and it's amplified once again. They do lose a tower, so Arctic Gaming taking a little bit more control and a little bit more active reaction than they did in game 1. That's good to see, right? They have an objective at the very least. And I'm not trying to say that in a negative way, but it is that they're learning, right? They're learning to play around it and play to take the advantages, the small ones, that they're able to get.
Not a single death on the side of Nova as the rotations have been through every member of the team, keeping themselves up and through. The Malik play by iFlex cannot be ignored as now, here we are. This is the aggressive maneuvering that Arctic finally wanted themselves. Rue's going to be able to pick up a kill onto Restless. That's that extra damage that the Kali buff provided in the last patch. Meanwhile, Seb's going to be able to pick up a kill onto the Max, and this is where the rebuttal by Nova takes themselves Orta Zennial joining the fray, and this is the power that we know that Zennial provides into the pit. Crayon ends up picking up the double kill, 4 for 2 in favor of Nova.
Nova's just continuing to push it down. Honestly, I don't want to write it off, but I think Arctic really needs to, even just for the Reigner game, see what else they can learn and adapt to see if they can come back from this game. Time and time again, we're seeing them just, I think, panic a little bit when they get initiated on, when they lose an objective. They start to go back and they say, oh, we gotta run away. Oh, we gotta play safe. No, you gotta get kills, right? Arena of Valor at the end of the day is a game about fighting. It's very calculated fights, but you gotta get fights and get kills.
Well, the kills are gonna be going over into favor of Nova as Daniel picks up that super easy kill onto Kappa, and there's nothing that Arctic Gaming can do. They're being set on fire as the Supernova has decided to come out, as now the kills come across 2 for 0, and it looks like Dark Slayer is next on the menu.
Yeah, I mean, again, 2 more minutes pass, another 4K, 3K gold expansion lead, and the Dark Slayer, that's going to be a boost. This is how Game 1 played out. This is how they win all of their games. You got to shut down Nova early. You can't go for a stall comp that wishes for that one team fight against a team like Nova. You got to take the aggression and tell them, no, you sit down and you play my game. We're not going to play yours.
And the funny part about Nova's strategy is it's not as fast-paced as what some of these games that you see in Arena of Valor is. They get themselves some kills, they secure themselves an objective, and then they wait. And then they chill. They have the patience as a team, which speaks a lot to the organization that they have as a unit, being able to play the patient game and knowing that they don't have to over-aggress because of the lead that they've created for themselves.
Oh, Freaka's ultimate not hitting anyone. Kali was already positioned, but I think there was a slight mismatch in timing.
Oh, but iFlex wants to get himself to going, but there's the damage of Nova. Doesn't matter. Sebka's going to be going ultimate. The high ground turret's going to be taken as well. Dark wants to go in. He's going to dodge. He's going to dive. The spear doing all the damage, might end up going down as the 2v1 happens, but the other members of Nova are going to ignore the team fight. They're going to go straight for the core. iFlex is going to do all his damage, but nice little rebuttal. Ruiz is there, and they're going to be forced to disengage. About 15% HP left on Arctic Gaming's core.
But, you know, they get pushed to the edge, and now you see them sticking around and fighting. They have low health, and they're saying, no, we gotta win this fight because that's the only way we stay in the game.
Just as we said, Nova doesn't overexert their resources. They end up losing 4 members on that overzealous attempt at the core, but still supporting themselves, about a 6,000 gold lead. Definitely not something that you can ignore.
Yeah, I mean, everyone's got the items they need to continue, and now you see them starting to all go forward a little bit more durability, right? They know their heroes themselves have the power they need. Everyone's starting to stack a little bit more health, a little bit more armor, a little bit of magic resist here and there so that they can go forward. The fact that they're just making sure that they can stick in the fight says a lot, too, about how they're assessing Arctic Gaming. They know that they're the ones who are going to stay in the fight and push them in, not Arctic.
Now you're going to have a little bit of a reset, and this is where things are unfortunately terrifying for Arctic Gaming. Yeah, they got themselves 4 kills. They helped out those unfortunate KDAs, but with the super minions pushing down the middle side of the map, as well as a very low core on the side of Arctic Gaming, Nova is going to be quite simply, quite easily able to push themselves up. But again, playing the patient game. They don't want to overexert. They don't want to have to worry. Going to take the tier 2 defensive tower on the bottom side of the map. Allow the minions to push up and do their job.
Yeah, the thing with Nova at this point is earlier they were comfortable with just jumping on Freaka, right? Very early, obviously, Freaka didn't have any items. Even afterwards in the mid-game when Freaka had some items and was tanky, they could jump on Freaka and take the time to kill him off. But right now, because it's in the enemy base, they need to burst down either Ruiz or even Kappa on that Ryoma to make sure that they're securing the fight, because otherwise the tanks will go back, heal up, and run right back in and continue to dish out that crowd control so the rest of their damage dealers can survive the fight and eventually push out Nova. So you're seeing them play a little more patiently, like you talked about, Jump. They're saying, all right, let's reassess. Let's get a little more patient, right? Dark Slayer, we can get another one go in, right? The Abyssal Dragon's up again if they want to make sure that they stay in the lead in terms of gold and experience. And they just want to make sure they secure all the towers and guarantee this game rather than taking another risk.
There's no sense in being over-aggressive when you have such a lead that Nova has at their disposal. You've got multiple split members on the bottom as well as the top side of the map. It's going to be the 4-1 split. It's going to be Lubu in the hands of Dark. He's going to have to get himself a nice little rotation. Now, you're starting to see the 3 members come up. They've got the minions on the top side of the map. Zung's going to try to do the damage, but I don't think Max really wants to pick a fight here, as he's going to have to be forced to disengage. And again, Nova doing a great job. They don't overcommit, back themselves off, get a little bit of poke, wait, patience.
Yeah, and while this is I think the right play for Nova, Arctic Gaming has a window here. They gotta make sure that they're staying on top of their game and just waiting for Nova to make a mistake. The problem is gonna come in when the Darkslayer comes back up. Which decision does each team make? Does Nova just jump on the opportunity? Lumber going for a 3-man knockup.
30-second cooldown, don't have to worry about nothing. Just a little knock-up. Hey, how you doing? There's a nice little roller coaster ride for you as he's going to summon his best earth-bending skills, as now the members of Nova are going to have to rotate themselves to the bottom side of the map. Again, allowing these minions. There's only 3 minions per wave, so it's not like they have a whole bunch of minions to work with, so it's going to have to be the slow roll. You've still got a little bit until that Darkslayer spawns again. As now, reminder, the core does regenerate itself. You can see it on the mini-map on the top left of your screen. It's just above 50% HP. So it's a little bit of wind blown back into the sails of Arctic Gaming, but Nova, the slow roll, the next minion wave coming in, they potentially could be looking to take this high ground turn on the top side.
I think Nova's starting to be a little too cautious here.
Yeah.
They haven't taken anything. The Dragon's just been sitting there. At least do something, because here's what's up. If you're just sitting at the same number of minions each wave against the enemy team, they will catch up to you because you're near max level. Dark's already max level at level 15. Arctic's starting to catch up. They're starting to catch up in items too. Nova's actually giving them more of a window of opportunity than they need, and maybe they're feeling that pressure just now.
They are. The mid laners are fairly even on the side, but here is where we're starting to see Nova almost on cue decide to get themselves a little bit of aggression. Malik threw out his ultimate to try to help out with the rest of his team, but they're going to get themselves a disengage, and this is what you're talking about. Maybe a little bit too patient here for Nova, allowing Arctic to slowly claw themselves back.
Yeah, I mean, I really think that Dragon should have been taken. They could have taken it quick and come back. I think they were too concerned with saying, oh, we got to keep them locked in until the Darkslayer comes up. And now that the Darkslayer is up, they try to fight, and they're going to try to position for it, but they could have easily taken one Dragon and come back, and Arctic wasn't going to go anywhere.
Nope, they're going to have to get themselves backed up. 5 seconds left remaining until the Darkslayer. So this could potentially be the catalyst to help push Nova over the edge that they want, having a little bit of extra push power. It has had now spawned. They're going to take the Abyssal Dragon and get that gold as well. But you want to talk about Arctic Gaming catching up to Nova? Look at Ruiz and Craven. Even though you've got the 616 over on Crane's L'Oreal, he's still down 300 gold to the Ruiz because of his ability to farm himself back up.
Yeah, and earlier in that fight on the top side for the high ground tower, on the side of Arctic Gaming, you saw Ruiz's damage finally starting to come through. So Nova, these jungle fights are going to get risky. The positioning for the Darkslayer is going to be so important. Arctic's already out, though. Their lanes are pushed out. They got to count on Zenial at this point, really pushing down that bottom side, because otherwise, even if Zenial jumps in a second too late, this is a 4v5 that Arctic can actually win.
He does have a little bit of damage on that build. Be able to help himself up. Dark is going to be able to get Kappa, might catch himself up. You do not want to be there without your team. There's still a lot of CC and protection between Zio and Frika, so they're going to have to potentially balance that. You've got obviously the 2 global ultimates on the bottom side of the map. Either one, Max or Zenial, can join the fight at any point in time. Great job by Arctic to push themselves out. They know that there's going to be a Darkslayer fight potentially happening, as here goes Nova. They want to finally get themselves a little bit. The double knockup's going to be able to happen. 2-man knockup coming out of the lumbar. Now you've got Krayan as well as Zoink joining the fight. It's going to be a back and forth battle, but they're not going to be able to come out of it just yet. Sio's going to be able to do a nice do-it for his team. Ruiz finally picks up a kill onto Dark, and here's where Arctic Gaming finally starts to get themselves come back. Flex is going to be able to pick up the kill onto Ruiz, and just like that, we thought for a second Arctic was coming back, but a bada bing, bada boom, explosion out of Nova.
That damage coming up from Krayan, just finishing that fight. But listen, props where props are due. Yes. Arctic Gaming fought that team fight well, right? Ruiz stayed alive a little bit too far out, but stayed alive. The team rallied around Ruiz, and Ruiz was able to keep up that damage coming out from Kali, but they didn't take into account how big Krayan had also gotten.
And just like that, Krayan, that L'Oreal, and the rest of Nova eSports secure themselves game 2, set, match. Nova eSports with the second quarterfinal win.
But this was a tougher one earned, right? I think Nova eSports has quite a bit to learn for themselves as well. The early game played out pretty much similar. They're going around, they're catching Frika off guard, they're going for the team roams, but Arctic has started to really take advantage of the fact that they had only lost 1 high ground tower towards the end game.